100 billion sovereign sukuk issuance for 2022 closes on a high note, says Debt Management Office. Naira redesign, CBN resets cash withdrawal limits, and Hong Kong stocks fall as China announces further COVID easing. Plus, oil opens mixed as economic fears pressure prices. Hello, I'm Benny Adams, welcoming you to this edition of Business Express. It is coming to you on the network service of the NTA. Good to have you join us at this time. We start by telling you that the federal government is requesting the United Nations and other international bodies to save developing countries like Nigeria from the clutches of rating agencies. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, made the appeal when the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, visited her in Abuja. Liakatumba Babatunde reports.
Nigeria, like many developing countries, has received downgrades and negative ratings from international rating agencies since the coming of COVID-19, whose impact is still reverberating. The World Bank, in its latest report, said debt service payments put the biggest squeeze on poor countries since 2000, with International Development Association countries' debt service payments projected to top $62 billion in 2022. Finance, Budget and National Planning Minister Zainab Ahmed laments rating agencies were not considering the circumstances Nigeria and similar countries were operating in and have denied Nigeria the opportunity of accessing cheap loans from international creditors. She expresses that the ministry is engaging credit rating agencies and providing everything they ask for, but it seems as if it is not enough.
They themselves just need to do things differently. You cannot be making the same kind of assessments you were making when things were normal. Things are different. Things are not normal anymore. So we've seen some of our sister countries really hurt, like Ghana, because of the assessment of a credit rating agency. This year alone, we have had Nigeria being downgraded one notch. And unless these interventions are done at a very high international level, our countries that are developing will be the ones that will carry the brunt.
The coming year will see Nigeria go to the polls as well as embark on census, and Nigeria is seeking support of the United Nations to make it work. In her brief remark, Mrs. Amina Mohammed cautioned the federal government on the planned review of fuel subsidy.
This is hugely important to the economy. However, it is one that has to be handled with care, and targeting effectively what one removes is important for people to understand that those perceived gains from subsidies are actually going to translate into their lives and work towards reducing poverty.
Revenue has been a nagging concern for the federal government, with this administration going in and out of recession twice and grappling with global and local economic troubles, hence the cry for help. In Abuja, Liakatumba Babatunde.
And the World Bank says the poorest countries eligible to borrow from its International Development Association, IDA, now spend over or more than a tenth of their export revenues to service their long-term public and publicly guaranteed external debt. This is the highest proportion since 2000, shortly after the heavily indebted Poor Countries Initiative was established. The World Bank's new international debt report shows a rising debt-related risk for all developing economies is as low as well as middle-income economies. It says that at the end of 2021, the external debt of these economies totaled $9 trillion, more than double the amount a decade ago. During the same period, the total external debt of IDA countries, meanwhile, nearly tripled $1 trillion. Rising interest rates and slowing global growth risks tipping a large number of the countries into debt crisis. About 60% of the poorest countries are already at high risks of debt distress or already in distress at the end of 2021. IDA-eligible countries' debt service payments on long-term public and publicly guaranteed external debt totaled $64.2 billion, equivalent to 10.3% of their exports of goods and services and 1.8% of their gross national income. According to the report, those percentages were up significantly from 2010, when they stood at 3.2% and 0.7% respectively. In 2022, IDA countries' debt service payments on their public and publicly guaranteed debt are projected to rise by 35% to more than $62 billion, one of the highest annual increases of the past 2 decades. China is expected to account for 66% of the debt service payment to be made by IDA countries on their official bilateral debt. And still talking about debt, this time at home, the Debt Management Office says it has concluded the issuance of 100 billion sovereign Al-Ajara Sukuk. The offer for 100 billion opened on November 21, 2022, and was supported by a wide public sensitization to encourage subscription from diverse investors, particularly the retail investors. The initial offer size of 100 billion was upsized to 130 billion due to the over 165% subscription level. The Sukuk was issued at a rental rate of 15.64% per annum. This brings the total sovereign Sukuk issuance to 742.557 billion as at date. The Debt Management Office explained that the level of subscription is evidence of investors' confidence in the use and impact of Sukuk in the construction and rehabilitation of road infrastructure across the country. The proceeds of the 2022 sovereign Sukuk, like the previous Sukuk issue, proceeds will be used solely for the construction and rehabilitation of key road projects through the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Currently, only 18 out of 40 tanneries are operational, with a total installed capacity for processing 250,000 skins per day, up to wet blue levels. This the federal government says it is committed to attracting investment to change the narrative. Receiving the Chairman National Steering Committee on the implementation of the National Leather and Leather Products Policy, Professor Mohammed Kabir Yakubu said the federal government will increase capital allowance on plant machinery, issuance of certificates under the Backward Integration Program, provision of common facilities to MSMEs operators to facilitate and strengthen expansion. Katagum commended the committee for creating strategies and action plans towards implementing the policy-approved measures and orienting leather industry stakeholders on the policy's goal. And still talking about the industry, Nigeria's ginger farmers and traders may soon be smiling to the banks. This is as the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, NEPC, collaborates with Center for Promotion of Imports from Developing Countries, CBI, of the Netherlands towards boosting the country's ginger value chains and export to the Netherlands. In a statement, Executive Director of NEPC, Dr. Ezra Akusak, says the council is in alliance with CBI to enhance the quality of the commodity through capacity building and market access programs. This is in addition to considering for the establishment of a common facility center in ginger production hubs in states where it is cultivated and produced for export in Nigeria. He explained that the objective of the program, which is based on Nigeria's Sustainability Ginger Program, NGSP 2021 to 2025, is to leverage the potential of the commodity for improved value while diversifying its market. The NEPC is currently on a market orientation mission to Netherlands and France with 17 small and medium entrepreneurs, and ginger value chain producers. Let's take a trip to the commodities market. Now, promoting trade and economic zones is our focus on the program, and joining me is the Executive Secretary, Institute of Export Operations Management, Ofon Udofia. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you, Musa. Good to have you again.
Well, it's Benny. Musa is my producer
Benny,
for today.
fine.
Good. Well, the African Export Processing Zones Organization, alongside partners numbering more than 21 across Africa, just concluded their 7th edition meeting and the 5th African Union Symposium in Nigeria, just as Nigeria celebrates 30 years of export promotion zones in Nigeria. As an expert in the export value chain building capacities of MSMEs, what would you say to this collaboration that we are witnessing at this particular point in time, more so that Nigeria is seeking to increase the volume of exports?
Yes, what a fantastic and wonderful collaboration. And I think this will be very good if it is well harnessed, because we need export in this country than never. At this moment, we are dwindling economy and the dwindling oil price and unstable security situation in the country. Export is the only way to go. If it is well harnessed, it will really help Nigeria tremendously, because among all the African countries that are also signing, we are the giant in production and we're also the giant in size. So it will be a very good scenario for us to boost our exports as a country.
Okay, talking about boosting exports, yes, there are some challenges which you and I have discussed on this program, one of which is building capacity of MSMEs to meet export standards. Nigeria now is preparing to start trading on the African continental market. How ready are the MSMEs under your export purview in terms of capacity? And yes, they say funding is not everything. Do they have the capacity in terms of quality, in terms of funds, to take advantage of this market as well as these collaborations that we're witnessing at this point in time?
Yes, Benny, I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that there are some industries, mostly people that are with the manufacturing station of Nigeria, that are doing very well, that can compete. Though there are some challenges that will come there. But coming to the digital SMEs in the country, there's a lot of gap. Mostly in the capacity building you are talking about. Let's take, for instance, how many labs do we have in this country within, let me say, within the zones that an SME can comfortably take his own product to the lab and test it and say, okay, this is good for human consumption and can stand by it, besides getting NAFDAC, which is also a challenge. So in that vein, we are not totally prepared. We need to put structures in place, like some other countries that are also signing with us. I know very well that they don't just come to you and give you finance. They go to the supermarket and pick the product that is already there, go and do analysis to know, oh, these guys are trying. How do we assist them? But our problem is that we don't do that. We only publish people that need assistance should come and they get the wrong messages. So we are not ready capacity building wise in terms of knowledge, in terms of standard. We still have a lot of gap we need to fill.
Well, you mentioned possibly the availability of labs to test a product. I know the Standard Organization of Nigeria is about celebrating 50 years, though I think they are 51 years, but the celebration is about 50 years. And in part of one of the events I was present, we are told in Lagos alone we have 48 standard labs that check quality for possibly MANCAP certification and SONCAP. But that's not for us to go into there. Talking about this continental market that we're talking about, there is the issue of rules of origin for products. Nigerians, MSMEs are apprehensive. The products we are going to be trading in these markets, what is their origin? Are they coming from some other countries and repackaged to carry the name of Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana, or South Africa? Or are we bringing these companies? Are we collaborating with them to produce from our raw materials from in-country? What is your take on the scenario?
Rule of origin there's a percentage of what must come from any of the African countries if we benefit from this trade.
40%.
If you just go to Ghana and pick a finished product and then maybe come and package it in Nigeria, you may not be able to get the adequate percent, which is about 25 to 30%, must be locally sourced, including labor.
It's actually 40%.
So that is very important because we need to look inward. We have a lot of local raw materials and we export them raw. So this is a clarion call for us to sit down and say, how do we add value to what we have? If we add value to giving everything we have, the rule of origin issue will not be a problem to Nigeria because we have enough of raw materials.
Okay, talking about raw materials, the export processing zones, what opportunities do they avail local exporters in Nigeria?
Yes, we have, and there's still a challenge. The zones are actually to produce for export. But is that what is obtainable in Nigeria? Most of the items produced in zones still back into Nigeria. The zone is like a different country. But in Nigeria, it's a problem because, you see,
Hello, it's
75% of what you produce in the zone should be exported, while 25% can be allowed internally. But unfortunately in Nigeria, a lot of all these items come back. And the zone was to solve the problem like one on the sustainable development goal, like no poverty, zero hunger, gender equality, decent work. If the zone is properly harnessed, that is what it will actually solve. But unfortunately, we are only bringing the investment, but they are not triggering down into the SMEs and the locals. So this is what I want government to look at. I know they have the challenge of infrastructure at rest, but those things should be put in place and it should be mandatory that if you are in a free zone enjoying the tax rebate and every other thing, you should equally be able to export that percentage that is expected of you to bring in foreign exchange into the country.
Well, in your own view, 20% is supposed to be consumed in country, then 75% to be exported. Now that we are yet to attend such a fate, what in your suggestion is the way to go from here?
Yeah, the way to go from here is more support to the free zone. We create more, and then infrastructure is a challenge. I was in one of the ports in the east. Area 1 port, and the management of the terminal were telling me they are trying to bring in the free zone concept because of the volume of export that is going through that place. I don't want to mention their name. So, but when you look at the bottlenecks, even the cost of getting the license and every other thing, it becomes a problem. So government should simplify this, should make it a kind of a single window. You can sit down, if you are qualified, you get it, and then implement the issue of selling or exporting 75 or 70% of that product outside. Otherwise, the same product will still come back into the system.
Well, thank you so very much, Ufon Odofia, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time. It is a discussion, it is a conversation we will continue from time to time. Thank you. Moving on. Boosting financial inclusion is one of the aims of the digital currency as it seeks to integrate millions of unbanked Nigerians. The reason key players in the industry are creating new ideas and solutions to bridge the loopholes affecting the financial sector for digital and cashless policy to thrive. Bosede Abel has that report.
The Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems reveal that cashless transactions worth 33.2 trillion naira were performed in August 2022 through the NIP's instant payment platform, NIP. This brings the total value of e-payment deals in the last 8 months to 238.7 trillion naira. For year-on-year, the e-payment value increased by 50% compared to 22.1 trillion naira recorded in August last year. Policymakers and financial experts say the financial space is a marketplace for business exchange and policy decision on the opportunities and challenges of digital financial platforms in Africa. They are focused on how to enhance intra-continental transactions within the context of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. As different facets of the banking industry undergoing changes, discussants here pointed out the need to stay ahead with technological innovations.
As a result of the increasing complexity of the banking ecosystem, financial giants and startups are creating more investment opportunities daily.
But today, we now have NIP, instant payment. You can make a transfer right now and it hits anybody who has a bank account anywhere across the country.
It also gives space for a lot of young people in Africa to begin to understand the payment system, paperless economy.
Stakeholders believe this innovation will stimulate wider investment exchange between countries towards a prosperous Africa and also improve global financial operations and create balanced economic policies. In Abuja, Boss said able.
Now let's take a look at energy. Oil prices were mixed in early Asian trade on Wednesday after falling to their lowest settlement levels this year. This is as economic uncertainty and the prospect of higher interest rates pressured prices. CNBC reports that Brent crude futures rose 0.2% at $79.52 a barrel. Last session, the benchmark fell below $80 for the second time in 2022. U.S. crude futures fell 3 cents to $74.22 a barrel. Tuesday's slump was the largest daily decline in Brent prices since late September, which have traded in a 62 range this year. Now let's take a trip to the global market.
Welcome to the market review. Global markets are responding to sentiment overnight, with shares in the Asia-Pacific region broadly retreating, weighed down by major U.S. indices that fell. Hong Kong stocks saw sharp declines, leading losses in Asia markets after China announced further easing of COVID measures, a move that was widely expected. Nikkei, Shanghai Composite and the Hang Seng Index posted losses. European stocks pulled back on Wednesday as jitters set in over the state of global economy. DAX dipped 0.41%, FTSE 0.06%, and CAC 40 of France also depreciated 0.39%. U.S. stock futures also dipped Wednesday, with traders fretting over the possibility of a recession as the Federal Reserve could raise rates for longer than expected. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average were down 68 points. S&P 500 dipped 0.31% and Nasdaq Composite also depreciated 0.43%. Same trend affected most markets in Africa. Only Ghana's GSE Composite Index traded marginally positive. That's the Global Market Stocks Review. I am Boss Sede Able.
From the global market, let's see how the Naira is exchanging for other currencies at the CBN official rate. That wraps Business Express for now. Remember to send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns on Thursday at 9:30 a.m.